guys, welcome back. Picking up where we left off, in the last video, we went over chapter 3 in the book, Please Be Patient, I'm Grieving, How to Care for and Support the Grieving Heart. Chapter 3 was called Accept Their Emotions. Just a few bullet points on what chapter 3 had to say was emotions are all over the place. They're very intense. I'm sad, angry, overwhelmed, anxious, frustrated, fearful, and even numb. Questions flood your mind about why us, why me, why now, how, what. You feel like you could cry enough to fill a room. Your chest feels tight. Sometimes it seems like it's tight all the time. You wonder if these emotions are normal. You ask, am I crazy? Am I on the verge of having a permanent mental breakdown? You also think, what are others thinking about me? I struggle with guilt. Things I should have said or not said, done and not done. Your heart has shut down and you feel paralyzed. Grief is an emotional process. It's a constant roller coaster ride. Everyone's grief journey is different than the next, and therapy is okay. That last part was my input, but therapy is okay. Going to therapy does not mean you are weak. It means you are getting stronger because you want to find the outside help to have a healthier recovery in your grief process. So chapter 4 is called Grow with Them as They Change. So again, I'm going to start with my personal experiences. So I know I've changed. I've changed as a wife, as a friend, a daughter, and a sister. Losing my dad has also changed how I thought that I would be as a parent. I know I'm not as young as some people are when they lose their mom or dad, but I was at the age where I finally understood why my dad did the things he did with my sister and I. All of the discipline and the no's that we got from him, that were received, were all part of his bigger plan to raise us right, to make sure we made the right decisions and to have the right people in our lives. So I now know how I'm going to raise my daughter, and a lot of it will be because of my dad, not only because he was my dad, but because in raising my daughter, I'll be reflecting and teaching her about my dad and how he was as a person. And to me, that's a great honor, because obviously she's not gonna know him other than from me or my mom or my sister telling her stories about my dad. But those aspects are not the only part of how I've changed. The effect of my dad passing didn't leave just one giant hole. It left lots and lots of small ones, plus the giant one. It left so many small holes, in fact, that I lost who I was for a while. I withdrew from family and friends. I always said that I needed some time to myself, which was, unbeknownst to me, depression talking. I've never experienced that emotion before, so that was very new to me after my dad passed. And I was in denial for a long time, which is another stage of grief, is denial, on many levels, not just what you're feeling, but, your loved one being in denial that your loved one is gone, that they're not coming back. You're not going to have that relationship again with anybody, and that you are going to get depressed. I just wasn't accepting of any of that. I really felt like I couldn't be myself around anyone because I didn't even know who I was anymore. So, like I said, I withdrew from family and friends. I went from this fun, loving, happy, carefree person, like I was me, to a depressed, lonely, sad, and miserable human being. I didn't feel like a person anymore. I just felt there. I still had a job at that time, and I stayed constantly stressed out at my job just because of, or not only because of my dad passing, but I didn't feel like I had the support there that I needed from certain people, which, y'all, if you work a job where you don't have people supporting you, or people that don't have your back, or give you ultimatums, saying, if you don't come back, you're not going to have a job, leave. Go find somewhere else, because that ain't your job. You need a job that will understand family and, I cut on my finger. Will understand what family means to you, and help you through your grieving process, not try to force you out of it. So anyways, my marriage started kind of going downhill. Me and my husband were arguing a lot, and this is all on me. That was a huge pill to swallow, is to accept that it was me not being there for my husband, even though he was there for me. Not, fully meeting his needs. I wasn't, like I said, we were arguing, and y'all, it was rough. But he stuck by me through the good and the bad, with my grieving, and he still does. I mean, it's been 2.5 years, and I still have days where I can't hold it together. Those memories and those emotions are just so strong. They're overwhelming, and they capture me, and I can't get out of them sometimes. Like, I started crying on Valentine's Day night, because a memory popped in my head of my dad, and we were just laying in bed, and I could not stop crying. It wasn't a faucet that night. It was a freaking water hose, and I could not cut it off. And all he did was just lay there and hold me and told me it was going to be okay, and that he was there for me, and all of these encouraging words, and things that I didn't realize I needed to hear until he started saying them, and it really helped bring me back to reality, because at that moment in time I had gone so far out of reality, my reality, that I really needed his support to bring me back. Another thing is, thank goodness I have the friends I do in my life. My best friend drove down from Atlanta and skipped out on a weekend gig that she had planned for a while. I had other friends who took off of work and stayed around for a couple days. And then I had others who actually stayed and helped with the funeral arrangements because, like I said before, my dad's death was so unexpected that we had everything to do. for his funeral. Nothing was lined up, so I think it really helped my mom to have the input that she did, just to kind of help with all that. So, and those friends are still here with me today. They have grown with me as I have changed, and I'm not talking about me changing back into the person that I used to be before my dad passed. That person is gone. That person is never coming back. My old self is not coming back, because grief has shaped me into a new person. Grief, any type of grief, is a life-changing experience. And like chapter 4 talks about, my relationship with my dad was unique. It was mine and his. And so there's no way that I can be the person that I was when he was here, because he's no longer here for me to have that relationship with him anymore. So grief shapes you into a new person. But my friends, they accept my emotions, and like the book has said, they sit in the road with me when I've been hit by the bus again. And my husband does the same. So having people in your life like that, that constantly support you in whatever direction your change goes, they're lifesavers. Just knowing that you constantly have that support. You have multiple backbones in your life that you can call on a whim or text me like, hey, I'm having a bad day. Or the ones that understand when you say, no, I don't feel like going out to eat. I don't feel like doing anything today because I'm in a hole. I'm in a rut. I've been hit by the bus. And they're like, okay, that's fine. Do you need anything? Do you want me to come over? And knowing that they mean it. Like, they genuinely mean it. So that's my personal intro for chapter 4. So now we're gonna read it. So like I said, chapter 4 is titled Grow With Them As They Change. And the quote at the beginning starts, pieces of my heart are missing. I don't know who I am anymore. Grief, I'll start my CD over. Grief affects relationships. For those grieving, this can be scary, even frightening. Some people disappear. Others draw closer. So that's true for me. When my dad first passed, and this is going to sound really weird, but we were all we were close-knit as a family anyways, but after my dad passed, we got so close there for a while. It was almost suffocating, but comforting at the same time, just because your family's there. But then I started pulling away. Like I mentioned in my personal experience, I started pulling away from people. And they started noticing, and I just didn't care. I really didn't, because I knew that I had to do what was best for me at that time. New people come into the picture. All this change can be overwhelming. You can make a difference by appreciating this upheaval and growing with them as they heal. So sometimes, or at least for me, when, at least within the first year of my dad passing, when new people came into my life, it was refreshing, just because they didn't know my story, my background. So the person that they met was new to them. They didn't have to go through the old me to what the grieving me started to become. So it was refreshing but scary at the same time, because I knew at some point I was going to have to say, hey, my dad passed. I don't want to do that yet, whatever. So All right, so this next part is from the grieving heart, so from me to you. I'm not sure who I am now. I know that sounds strange. You might say I'm who I always was, but I'm not. I'm different, and loss has changed me. I had a unique relationship with my loved one. It was ours and no one else's. Yes, others are grieving too, but their grief isn't the same as mine. I'm not them and they're not me. Because my relationship was one of a kind, my grief is unique too. My grief is mine alone. So with that, like I said in the other video, I can't tell you what works for me as a griever, because what works for me probably won't work for you, and if it does, I'm happy for you, but my grief is different than your grief. I'm on a different level than you are, and we might be on the same level tomorrow, but then the next day we're back at different levels. Like, your grief is your own, and you let it stay that way. Don't let anybody try to tell you how to feel. Grief is a lonely road. I'm slowly learning to accept this. This doesn't mean I want to be alone. Yes, I need time to myself, but I also need to stay connected to others who care about me, people like you. And that also takes a little bit of time for you to come back around and realize that people actually do care for you during your grief journey, during your grieving journey. And if they are willing to be with you, sit with you in the road after you've been hit by the bus, they're the ones that you need to keep. You couldn't stop this bus from hitting me, and you can't stop it from running over me again and again. This is my grief, my bus, my road. I don't know who I'll be when I finally stand up again. I don't know who I'm becoming. I don't know if you'll still like me or love me, or whether I'll even like myself. That part right there hits home for me big time, because I went through a phase of several months before I went to therapy of hating myself. I had gained weight. I was depressed eating, so I gained a lot of weight, and I didn't like who I was becoming towards my husband or my daughter, just because all of those emotions were still so strong within me, especially anger, that it was so easy for me to get aggravated with the littlest things. And I finally snapped out of it one day, and I was like, I can't continue to be this person. Like, for one, I can't continue to hate myself, but I don't want my daughter to possibly see me the way that I see myself. And I also wanted my husband to, what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't feel like he truly loved me, even though he did, and he still does. My thoughts was that because I hated myself so much, I thought that his love for me was dwindling too. And that was not healthy at all. So I started doubting myself. I started doubting our relationship. It was just a very, very rough time for me. My world has turned upside down. I'm upside down. I have a hole in my heart where my loved one used to be. I have no idea what life will be like without them. Perhaps I can experience healing even with this hole in my heart. I really hope so. I'll have to rediscover or perhaps redefine who I am. I know I can't stay the same because nothing is the same now. But I don't know who I'll be, and this scares me. Please be patient with me. I'm grieving. All right, so this next part is an explanation to the supporters of the grieving heart, and it's called Grief Affects Relationships. Life is about relationships. Who we're connected to, how, when, and to what degree. People make all the difference in our lives one way or the other. When someone exits, it affects everyone they were attached to. For some, the effects were subtle and hardly noticeable. For others, the impact is massive, altering life's direction and dramatically changing relationships. So when my dad passed, he was so influential on for so many people. It definitely was not just his family and close friends that were affected. It was his coworkers, and their relationship with other coworkers at their job, just because he was the kind of person that people were just drawn to. So by him passing, it was a widespread effect on so many people, and we saw that at his visitation and funeral. And because grief affects our relationships, it jostles our concept of who we are. It strikes at our identity and causes us to wonder why we're here and what life is all about. Depending on the loss and the relationship involved, this identity crisis can be confusing, upsetting, and even traumatic. But it's also natural and normal. Eventually, we learn to somehow live again with a hole in our hearts. That's finding your new normal. I've had several people ask me, and it's heartbreaking to see other people go through what I have. I had a girl I know, her dad passed in almost the same scenario that mine did. I remember her posting something on Facebook, and I just had to message her and be like, I don't even think it had been a year for me, but I guess it was a good day. But I messaged her and told her, that it's gonna get better. Slowly but surely it will get better. The hardest part is just gonna be finding your new normal. I have another friend that lost his mom, and I told him the same thing. So, even though I'm a grieving heart, I still have to be, I feel like I need to be supportive of other people who are in my situation, because I know where they're at. I know how hard it is. So, yes, your relationship will change too. Perhaps you sense your friend, coworker, or relative is changing. That's hard because deep down you know this means your relationship must also change. This doesn't have to be negative or come between you. In fact, you have an opportunity to heal and grow with them, having an even stronger relationship in the future. But it won't be the same. It can't be. Grief changes us. So the choice is yours. You can grow together through this or choose to drift apart. Grow with them as they recover and heal. You can make more of a difference than you ever thought possible. So one of the end quotes is, "I want to be in this with you. I don't know who I'll become either. I'll grow with you as you heal." Here's another quote by C.S. Lewis. Lord, I can't talk tonight. "For in grief, nothing stays put. One keeps on emerging from a phase, but it always recurs. Round and round, everything repeats. Am I going in circles, or dare I hope I am on a spiral? But if a spiral, am I going up or down it?" And then the next one is by L. Robinson. "Trying to rediscover who you are is hard when part of you is missing." Yeah. When you lose a parent, you lose such a huge part of yourself, that sometimes you feel so hopeless that you will never rediscover who you are. But what I've discovered is that, or figured out, is while you're trying to rediscover yourself, think about your loved one. Think about the influence that they had on your life. Even though they're no longer here, think about the relationship you had with them and how you can kind of continue on with that part of yourself in their memory. Like, I'm trying to think how to explain this. Continue to try to be the person that they would want you to be, and I'm at a loss for words right now. Rediscovering yourself is really, really hard, but like I just said, one of the things that has helped me is just thinking about my dad and continuing to be the person that he shaped me into be, and just going on like that in their memory. You'll shape back into a new person on your own, but use their memory to help you shape yourself into I don't know why I'm having such a hard time tonight. I don't even know how to word it. So anyways, yes, rediscovering yourself with your loved one being gone is difficult, but you'll get there. I promise you'll get there. I'm still trying to get there, but it's becoming an easier process now. But sending love out again to everybody who is grieving. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. We'll continue with chapter 5 in the next video. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. Find me on Facebook, BritNic's Journal, and Instagram, BritNic Journal _2028. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.